We're listening to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to chat. And you've given me a tough one following that inspiring story by Mr. Oriel. Certainly something that has been very inspiring. I've got a very small project that we use in our community that I'd like to talk about. It's a bit of a religious aspect of audio streaming as well, a bit different from your typical radio stream situation. But yes, let me go through the slides and we can take it from there. Cool. So a bit of background on myself. My name is Umar. I'm based right at the bottom of Africa. At the moment, it's the beginning of the evening. And yeah, South Africa is where we are. I'm an electronics engineer. I've been 21 for the last 15 years, I think. So yeah, been involved in audio and applications in my primary work, as well as for community context. So down in South Africa, we have a very interesting history, and I'll tell you why it's important for audio streaming as well. I'll get to it. I won't stay too much on this topic because I'm sure many of you might have heard about or have some information about South Africa. We are very famous for what happened in the past. There was a concept of apartheid or racial segregation, where people of different racial ethnicities were only allowed to stay in specific areas. So what happened with that is you had a white area, an African area, an Indian area, a colored area, and each of these groups of people would stay within their areas. Post 1994, Nelson Mandela, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, fought for freedom, and after that there was a lot of amalgamation of the different communities, and also with that came some of the challenges involved in terms of people living together and actually joining together as a single neighborhood. In any ways, my presentation is how we've used liquid soap in our religious context, or my specific religion, which is Islam. We've got the concept of a mosque, which is similar to a church or a place of worship, and it's quite central to the believer's faith. We have something called 5-time prayers, and they happen early in the morning at sunrise, around midday, in the afternoon, sunset, and also in the early night period. So, and herein comes the challenge. Each of these prayers in our culture is preceded by something called the call to prayer, which is the adhan in Arabic. A lot of you might have heard of it or even experienced it. Whilst in apartheid, a lot of the Indian community was primarily Muslim based, and having your own place to stay or your own area to stay meant that we also had some form of religious freedoms. One of the things was being able to perform the adhan or the call to prayer over loudspeaker. So this was done in the areas over loudspeaker, and because the community was primarily Muslim, nobody had any problem with the adhan being called at 5 a.m. in the morning or at 8 p.m. at night, for example. With the communities moving closer together and people coming together and being in a more, what's the word I'm looking for, inclusive environment, we found that there was possibly people who did not like the noise for mosques that were now built in your typical white areas, or what we would refer to in those times as your white areas. So anyways, with that challenge, I've actually been using liquid soap for a very long time, at least the past 12 years. I remember the first version was version 1 point something at the time. And we actually had liquid soap set up on a Raspberry Pi 1 device back in the days, a Raspberry Pi 1 device. We created a platform called livemasjid.com, which basically allows all of these mosques or these churches that we have in our community to connect their audio systems or their their mixer systems to the internet. So every time there was an audio broadcast, the community could listen in on these broadcasts at home, or be able to get the call to prayer at home, or the reminder that the time for prayer has set in from the comfort of their homes, without being an inconvenience to the greater neighborhood for some people at the time. So yes, we started off on the Pi 1 around 2012 or so. And one of our biggest challenges, and why we actually chose Liquidshop, was we were very data consumption aware, and also it needed to be dynamic streaming, in the sense that this is not a 24-hour radio service. When there is audio at a specific time, which might be different from mosque to mosque, it should start the stream automatically, as well as stop the stream automatically. And at the time, Liquidshop had a very nice system where they had the function called strip blank. And for us, that was a game changer. Using the strip blank function, we were able to detect when audio started and then create the stream. And when audio stopped, it would automatically cut off the stream as well. We set up our Raspberry Pi with a lot of functionality. We put quite a bit of development effort into it over the last 12 years. Being a community project, it was myself and a few other community members. But we've set up things like a settings interface. We've done recording locally on the device. I heard Alejandro mentioning he had an issue with the SD cards. We managed to solve that by actually recording to RAM instead of to the SD card. So we would do hourly chunks of recording, and first popping it into RAM, and then every hour move out just the recording to the SD card. In that way, we were able to minimize a lot of the read-write operations to the SD card for our setup. Basically, on a high level, we've got multiple Raspberry Pi devices with different types of capture USB cards connected to the internet that would all stream using Liquidshop to quite a simple Liquidshop script, which streams Opus out as well as records locally in MP3 to an IceCast server, and then from that server, different types of devices, your phones, your laptops, etc., have access to that stream. One of the second challenges that we experienced was a mosque would have multiple audio systems, one for the adhan and one for sound within the mosque itself. One option was to buy a second mixer and place it in, but we actually found a very novel solution where we use multiple USB sound cards. And using the Liquidshop add mixing functionality, we were able to capture different audio sources and stream them out to one IceCast service. So in the background, you can see some of the USB devices that we tested along the way, and we found that some of the cheaper ones weren't that good. And there's actually, from back when I was very young, there was a company called Creative Sound Blaster. They make one of the best cards that we actually ended up using in most of our installations. A more recent addition to our system was something dedicated in the house. So for context, we built and we designed a board from the ground up using something called the ESP32, which is a Wi-Fi based chip. So this device's primary focus is to stream online streams. It uses, because the nature of our stream is start and stop, we used MQTT to trigger the start and the stop of a stream, which would then allow the device to connect and play back that stream in a user's home. So over the years, we've grown to over around 250 mosques, primarily in South Africa. Our interface tracks their location as well as shows them up as green or red when they're online or active. We've implemented full recording of the sermons to S3 for later access and public access as well. The monthly stats that we have is around 12 million requests to our webpage per month, This comes from about 250,000 unique individuals per month. The idea, of course, was to strengthen the bond between the community and the church. Some links at the end of the presentation for anyone who is interested to look further. All of the work we've done is open sourced. Our full website, our full Pi development is all open source and available, and you can have a look at anything over there. I'd like to definitely thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. The Liquidshop platform has definitely been a game changer for us. Along the way, we've had a few issues, and Romain as well as Sam has really helped us to solve some of the issues we had initially with the strip blank specifically. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask them now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Umar. So, is there any question?
Yes, I have a quick question. How do you compile and install Liquidshop on a Raspberry Pi?
At the moment, we started off with the releases that you guys gave for ARM, but then more recently we started using OPAM, but we faced a similar challenge of it not being installed globally, but we managed to work around that for now, yes.
Thank you. I was saying in the chat, right now 2.2.x doesn't have the RMHF, the 32 bits for Raspberry Pi, but I'm going to work on re-enabling it because I'm realizing it's a very common use case apparently.
Definitely, yes.
Thank you. Is there any other question? So just a quick question. So do you plan to? So you already have 250 instances of your box. Do you plan to install many more, or are you happy with this number? Or what is the next steps?
We plan to install many more, and it's more of when the mosque or the church approaches us that we offer the services. The services are all offered free of charge. We give them the list of items to purchase, the Pi and the sound card, and we have a custom image ready to go on our website for them. So yes, it's offered to everyone. As I said, over the last 10 years, we've come to about 250, primarily in SA, but we've also got in the US, in Nigeria, in Australia, and quite a few international locations as well, installations.
Okay. Thank you very much for your talk.
It's a pleasure.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to ask, I'm probably missed it. Do you have a URL or an address so that we can see the spec of the box?
For the spec of our streaming box, I would point you to, in the presentation, there was a GitHub, a Bitbucket repository that's got the setup, but it's and also the livemasjid.com website where we've got a how to stream section.
Meet people, that's it. All right, fine.
MIT, yes. Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.